Hollywood is mourning iconic actress Carrie Fisher, who died Tuesday at the age of 60. As we reported earlier, Fisher suffered a heart attack during a flight from London to Los Angeles on Friday. She spent the holiday weekend in the intensive care unit in an LA hospital. The beloved actress was best known for her role as Princess Leia in the Star Wars movies, but also released novels, memoirs, and a screenplay. Alex Zalben, managing editor for TV Guide, joins us now. So, Alex, you and I were talking about this off camera, but you know, Star Wars, when you look at it today and you see the character that she played, this was really the role that launched her into mega stardom, and it was a role that was sort of rare for females at the time in that genre.
Well, absolutely. I mean, at that point, and up until that point, science fiction was all what was played on in Return of the Jedi. It was the girls in the bikinis being saved by the guys. But from her very first introduction in the movie, she's taking charge, she's in control, she's talking back, she's the one grabbing the blaster later on and saving the guys. And that changed the entire dynamic of the series. There's a lot of things that made Star Wars special, but that was one of the things that really said, this is not the typical science fiction movie, it's something different.
Because she was catapulted into the stratosphere after this movie, what was her relationship like to those movies, you think?
She loved them. That was something that was kind of surprising, I guess. She didn't even retroactively change her mind like Harrison Ford did later, and he kept going back and forth on it. She loved the script. She was nervous about people loving it the same way that she did, and then they did, and it was a huge success. Fame affected her, and she talked about that and was very open about that a lot, being in the public spotlight. But she always loved the series and would always come back to it. She, after the original trilogy, worked with George Lucas a lot. She was a writer on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. She even later became a script doctor on the Star Wars prequels, all of that. So she was very involved and always a huge supporter of the series.
Tell me more about that, her life beyond Star Wars, because we've known about the memoirs. She seemed to be very comfortable, in essence, with her vulnerabilities.
Yeah, I think that was what she originally meant to do, and Star Wars in a certain way waylaid her career and her life. In a good way, it gave her more of a platform, but she was headed to Sarah Lawrence College when she ended up in Star Wars, ended up leaving there and instead had a whole career, whole stardom. But she always wanted to be a modern-day Dorothy Parker, and she kind of reached that in a certain way. Her writing was always very personal, even when she was doing novels like Postcards from the Edge. They were always about her, they were about her life. She was writing about her relationship with her mother, her battles with drug addiction, her battles with depression. So it was always about her, and she always put herself into every single bit of her writing.
I feel like nowadays we're so used to folks oversharing, but when she came out with these, I think people would be well served to remember the context here. Not everyone was sort of as deeply personal as she was. What impact do you think that had on other people, seeing someone as huge a star as Carrie Fisher opening up about these very personal battles she was having?
One of the biggest things I think she did is she talked about mental illness, not just seriously, but with humor. And that's something that really nobody had done before. She came out, she wrote these books about it, she gave interviews about it, and she was very plain spoken about it. She would make jokes about her own mental illness, and it was her way of owning it. And that's something for a lot of people, particularly younger people who had seen the Star Wars movies and had looked up to her. They realized they weren't alone here. This wasn't something they were going through by themselves. This was their star, their hero, Carrie Fisher. Princess Leia was the person who was embodying these things and pushing them forwards and making them part of the national conversation.
And do we know, does she have any future projects in the works?
She does. Of course, there's the next Star Wars movie. She reportedly has a much, much larger role in that in Star Wars 8, though we don't know. Sources have said that she was wrapped filming that, but at the same time, there might be reshoots, they might have to go back and do things, so there's certainly questions there. She was also on a show called Catastrophe on Amazon, which is great, and she has if you only know her from the Star Wars movies, definitely check that out because she's hilarious in it. But she was actually on the flight back from finishing filming that when she unfortunately had cardiac arrest. So we will get to see her in those two things at least. There's a couple of other projects she may or may not have contributed to, but we're not quite sure at this point.
All right, we'll have to see. Alex Zalben, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here.